just books. And if you're going to be a full-time writer, then find these other mediums where you can sustain a living. So I had actually Durjoy write particularly this essay for me in the book and how to get published, saying enough earning potential for the next 10 years. Other best-selling writers like Preeti Shenoy, Ravinder and I can sustain right now, while for other authors it's much less. Frankly, even I was a full-time novelist only for 1 year. And then he goes on to talk about how he wrote for films, scripts and all of that. So he has advised all full-time writers that there are 4 mediums in which you can be a writer, which is TV, journalism, books and movies. And TV shows, by the way, I know most of us are very disdainful towards it. You know, I've been approached by TV companies and they say your stuff is too intellectual for us. But a couple of my books have been bestsellers. Non-fiction I find particularly sells almost by itself. So I've written a book called Feminist Rani. It came out, it was published by Penguin. That's on its way to be a bestseller. And it's amazing to me that in India today you write a book on feminism and the Amazon bestseller list #1 during pre-order. So I'm just saying that if you are going to write books, you can find within books genres that sell well, like romance, mythology, thrillers, if you're capable of writing it. So there are avenues where you can sustain a living, so don't be disheartened by it if you're going to be a full-time writer. And I think that the one thing I have as a writer, which I think is my secret weapon, is that I suffer from JOMO. Have you guys heard what JOMO is? Popular. I'm not even scared of being disliked. And I think that for me as a writer, that's my most powerful weapon, because I am able to isolate myself from societal expectations and just give my everything to the book. And this is the one skill. Because of that, I've been extremely disciplined with my writing. This is the being popular or being liked. So I think that's one skill set as a writer that has really taken me very far.
I just wanted to add one thing when she was talking about Indian television. I have to put it out there because I work there. So Indian television is the only need to be a little adaptive, is what it is.
It's a valid.
Thank you.
It's a valid profession.
Thank you for the question. I think I write because of love. And I want to find myself in writing. Oh yes, yesterday I think about the sentence. I think our dream is always come true, but we must walk to the dream. And so in writing, I write with love, and it is the way to find me. You know, I think I try to find what colors I love, what food I love, and then I know I love a lot of color. So now I say, why not I cannot love a lot of color? And this is writing make me to find the true me. And one more thing, writing is to communicate. I know myself, I'm not good at speaking at all. I have no idea to speak with the people since I was young. And so when I meet a problem, I don't know how to tell the people, I don't know how to tell them my opinion. So writing is the way. And it's not only can tell the people around me, but can tell people all over the world with the writing. Yes, and I am a writer in my country who can survive by the skill of writing. I have no idea, and I am surprised to myself too, because in my country, you know, it is a small country and there have no many writers, and I can be the one who can survive by writing. So I believe that when you love something truly, you can do what you love. you can do. And yes, I want to show you about my book. It is my new book, and it's also produced as a feature film, and that we saw in this year. Yes, it is the first thing that I can do in my country as well, because we never do like that before. Yes, but when I worked in art commercial, I meet many people who can know about film, and we make a team. And I have an idea. It is the idea to promote the book as well. So the book became popular when they know it's became a book and a film at the same time. We produce in the same time. That's why something always happened with the reason. I believe it, and we can do everything we want. Yeah. It relates to the second question. What is the special skill in writing? I think every people have the magic. When you have confidence and you concentrate, the nature will tell you the word to tell you the way to the work, to your work. I see. Because lastly, I also practice meditation, and meditation is told you about the nature. Yeah. And when I write, I find the same way. Thank you so much. So the magic will happen when you have the concentrate, and you. What can I say? Because it's so hard when the first time when I start to write. But if I can spend like half of hour, so I find many words to continue. So I know it is not normal. We can walk into the world of magic when we write.
Okay, so we are done with talking. We don't have much time. I'll take first 3 hands for questions, and then we will collectively answer in whatever way possible or good from our side. So first 3 hands, any question? You can also make comments. Yeah, question. Okay, number 1 and 2, 3. Okay. Yes, one in the back. First question. I'll take 3 questions, just one after another, and then we will get answers from here.
Hello everyone. It is just a general question. So, what's the most difficult thing about writing characters from the opposite sex?
Characters from the opposite sex?
Yes.
Okay. In my experience, I haven't written a character from the opposite sex as a protagonist, but within the book, I think the difficult thing is to get into the head of the person, because I don't think like a man. So it's a lot of observation of the men around me. So little nuances that I may miss out on, but then I need to think and I need to question and observe more deeply to bring it out. I think you cannot write a superficial, external depiction of a character of the opposite sex, even if you're from another sex. You just need to also get into that character as much as you get into the character of somebody of your own gender.
Okay, I've always regarded it as a challenge to write an opposite sex, but in my case I think that you shouldn't fall into this temptation when you write about a woman to describe her as she's constantly thinking about our sex, about men. Just to be honest and admit that we are not constantly thinking about women, so we shouldn't be like that on the opposite. So let's not fall into this temptation. And yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm known for writing about women, girls, and all my books are just full with women characters and girls characters, and the men come, but the men are the... Okay, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it, but... for me, it has always become very naturally. I think two things are very important when you want to attempt to write about the opposite or the other sex, like, opposite to yours, is one, deep down inside, you should not be opinionated about that sex. Because if you are opinionated, good, bad, it will be reflecting, and then the character will not seem like a character, but an extension of the author's, opinion. So that's very important. So that's one. Second is, like, whenever I have been in touch with women and they have influenced me, I think what we generally do is we try to interpret people, and situation, and hope that interpretation people like. I think for me, it's very important to interpret someone, especially a woman, because I'm writing as a woman of a woman's mind. It's very important to understand than judge. There's a very fine line. You just sometimes yourself don't know when you are judging and when you are understanding. But I think that understanding part, and it's a process over years. It cannot happen overnight. It cannot happen, as a male writer trying to understand women, obviously it cannot happen over lives also. Because women are very layered that way. But at least you can try and attempt and do it with a very fair mind and with a very open mind where you're not judging anything. It's a difficult process, but it's worth it.
Thank you, sir.
Second question.
Sorry, I'll give you guys examples of 2 sentences and you tell me whether you think it's been said by a woman or a man. Hey honey, I'm so sorry, I can't make it to the hospital today. Super sorry, got late. Can I come tomorrow? Is that okay? And the other example, can't make it today, see you tomorrow at 5. Who do you think the first sentence was uttered by? A woman? And the second sentence? Our gender biases are so deeply ingrained in our mind that without realizing it, this could have been either a man or a woman. Without me even telling you who has said this or the character, you have assumed the gender, right? So V.S. Naipaul had said that no female writer can compare to his writing. That was the arrogance he possessed as a male writer. This was despite female writers like Hilary Mantel, whose entire, Booker and all her books are based on Thomas Cromwell, a male protagonist. This is despite Jhumpa Lahiri's beautiful book on the 2 brothers, Lowlands, that came out. This is despite Frankenstein, that's been written by a female writer. This is despite so many male characters like, say, Harry Potter, that has been etched out by a female writer. So when people tell you things like, as a woman you cannot write from a male point of view, please give them these examples, because that is not a fact, it's just an opinion. One of my most favorite movies is As Good As It Gets, and then Jack Nicholson is a writer, right? And somebody asked him in the movie that, how do you write female characters so well? And he says, I take a man and then I remove sense and logic. So, for Happy Birthday, especially my collection of short stories, I wrote a lot of stories from the point of view of a man, and people were so surprised by it. So I in fact wrote an entire article on why people second guess women who write from the male point of view. So my entire premise is that let's use literature to break gender biases. The entire point of publishing and of stories and of books is to break new ground, to break all the gender boxes and gender stereotypes that we assign in this world today. So I wish that literature would change the conversation. I wish literature would take the movement forward instead of ascribing and prescribing to the gender descriptions that we've grown up with. So I'm trying that by writing from all points of view. It doesn't matter to me whether it's a man or a woman. But I mean, we need to, as writers, I think, take the responsibility that we change the way we write about women and men. Because in most of the best-selling books, by the way, the books that have won awards have always had a male protagonist who's handsome, successful, and has somehow saved the world. And the female protagonist is always this simpering, she'll be a sweet little simpering school teacher in kindergarten and always an ancillary to the man. So my entire premise to my writing is to change these gender prescriptions, and I hope all of us can take that responsibility.
May I just add a bit? Okay, sure.
Yeah, second.
There's a hand that went up here.
I have stunned them into silence.
Sorry, I just wanted to add a point that some of the most powerful female protagonists have been created by men. That's Madame Bovary, Anna Karenina. So there is no distinguishing. If you're a good writer, you will write well across genders. If you're a bad writer, you write badly across genders.
And having said that, I'm writing a book with the pseudonym of a woman. So my pen name is a woman's name. So
There was a hand that went up here. They changed their mind.
okay, we are very fun people. You can all you can ask us questions.
Yes. Oh, lovely. We love questions. Please ask your questions. We're not going to judge.
Ma'am, sir, I would like to know the role of criticism in your profession. The role of criticism.
The role of criticism. The role of criticism in publishing.
Sorry, I feel like opinions are like armpits, everybody has them. So as a writer, you first of all have to believe in your own work, more importantly, more than anything else. The problem with Indian critics, you're talking about book critics, right? The problem with book critics in India is that most of them are doing a copy-paste job. That is, they don't even read your book. Most of them just see the flap jacket, the front cover, and then they'll write an opinion based on what they think your personality is. And especially, again, I'm sorry I keep making this very gendered, but say Arundhati Roy, the best known female Indian writer today, when her new book came out, a book reviewer, a very reputed international book reviewer, instead of talking about her book, he kept mentioning the shade of the lipstick that she was wearing to the interview. He mentioned the clothes that she was wearing. He mentioned that she goes to 5-star hotels to eat. So as a female writer, you are judged more for what the image people have of you than your actual writing. So at some point you have to step away from that and say that who I am and who I am as a writer is not another person's opinion, but my opinion of what I think of myself. But that said, I think if there's constructive criticism, if, whenever my books have been reviewed, I always look for what good I can take out of it. How can I improve my art and craft and become a better writer? So if there are there is good constructive criticism coming your way, you must embrace it. And your editor, who you're publishing the book with, make them your friend. A lot of us writers have been guilty of fighting with our editors and our publishers. We have to understand we're on the same side here. And one very, very strong critic you'll get is your reader. So a lot of writers react very negatively to reader reviews. And I always tell them, no, this is your reader. Out of the 75 million books that exist on the planet today, they picked your book. So you must actually worship your reader, treat your reader as your god. Don't get into a fight with them because they don't like your book or they don't like some aspect of your book. So you have to decide as a writer, as a creative person, what you will embrace as constructive criticism and what you're able to dismiss.
About criticism, I think, just give me a moment. I think we're very sensitive as writers, so it really hurts you when somebody says something negative about your book. But as Meghna said, you need to put the hurt to one side and be very dispassionate and see if there is a valid point that has been made in the review of the book, and learn from it. At the end of the day, we are all human, and your aim as a writer is not to write the best book ever at the first time, is to better your previous work. So it's just a process that you have to keep improving yourself, and good critics will help you do that. You make the critic your ally rather than your adversary, is what I say.
Well, in my case, just after the book was published, I saw that I'm absolutely immune against all the critics. It means nothing for me, and there's no authority for me in critics. But when I read the first good review, suddenly it became important. So my immunity was broken at that point.
So thank you very much. We will conclude it now. We're just giving you 10 minutes to get to wherever the next sessions you're going to. And we also may have to be speaking in different other places. So, of course, there are very exciting, interesting sessions coming up. So we'll prepare for that. Thank you very much all the panelists here and our translator here. Thank you, and thank you all the audience, lovely audience. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Tenzin, for moderating that so beautifully.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank all the distinguished speakers who shared their precious knowledge and love affair with writing with all of us. Thank you for coming here today. Thank you all the guests. We have another session in another 10 minutes. So I would request everyone to stay back. Thank you.